125 years ago, our city saw the birth of a movement to provide equal access to justice for all through the founding of the Protective Agency for Women and Children. Private attorneys and staff pursue justice for victims of forced prostitution, domestic violence, wrongful eviction, wrongful foreclosure, predatory lending, wage exploitation, false criminal accusations. They pioneered legal representation of trafficking victims, legal representation to protect victims of domestic violence, legal representation for indigents accused of crimes, legal representation for claims against employers for unpaid wages. 2 years later, the Bureau of Justice was formed in Chicago with 3 missions: to secure legal protection for those unable to protect themselves regardless of race, gender, or nationality, take cognizance of existing laws and criminal procedures and suggest improvements, to propose new and better laws, and to make efforts towards securing their enactment. In 1905, the 2 groups merged and became the Legal Aid Society of Chicago. The Legal Aid Society led the way in protecting children. In 1910, the Legal Aid Society partnered with Jane Addams to establish the country's first law school clinic at Northwestern University Law School. The clinic provided a unique opportunity for students to help the indigent while working on real cases. By 1915, there were 41 legal service programs available nationally.
My dear Mr. Metz, pray pardon for my delay in replying to your interesting letter of February 17th. I have made it a principle all my life not to accept honorary connection with any society in the work of which I could not be active. But I have heard so much in praise of the Legal Aid Society of Chicago that I am willing to break my rule and consent to have my name used as one of its honorary vice presidents. Cordially and sincerely yours, Woodrow Wilson.
My dear Mr. Metz, I shall be very glad to become one of the honorary vice presidents of your Legal Aid Society in Chicago. I am greatly interested in the promotion of the purpose of your society. Sincerely yours, William H. Taft.
My dear Mr. Metz, it gives me great pleasure to accept your kind invitation to become an honorary vice president of the Legal Aid Society of Chicago. I believe thoroughly in these legal aid societies, for they seem to me to solve one of the great difficulties of our civilization, that is, the problem of getting the law to aid those who most need such aid and are least able to pay for it. Faithfully yours, Theodore Roosevelt.
The Legal Aid Society handled more than 15,000 cases between 1915 and 1918. The need was so great that resources became exhausted. In 1919, the Legal Aid Society merged with United Charities, one of the oldest social service providers in the country. With this partnership, the Legal Aid Society took the name Legal Aid Bureau and began offering legal and social services under one roof. The end of World War II saw more requests for help with housing and family law issues as soldiers returned from the war. In 1959, the University of Chicago and the Legal Aid Bureau established the country's second law school clinic. In 1964, the federal government acknowledged that equal access to justice is a fundamental right and a path out of poverty. In 1984, the Legal Aid Bureau worked with a coalition that helped pass the Illinois Domestic Violence Act. United Charities and Legal Aid Bureau staff helped establish the Chicago Metropolitan Battered Women's Network. In 1986, the Legal Aid Bureau celebrated a century of providing equal access to justice. The Legal Aid Bureau established a formal pro bono program in 2001. 2011, the Legal Aid Bureau of Metropolitan Family Services celebrates its 125th anniversary and launches a coalition combating sex trafficking. Today, the Legal Aid Bureau of Metropolitan Family Services continues to provide services to thousands of our community's most vulnerable citizens, victims of domestic violence, victims of elder abuse and financial exploitation, families facing homelessness, victims of consumer fraud. Today, there are 160 federally funded programs across the country. Domestic violence, forced prostitution, child labor are all recognized as crimes. Representation for those accused of crimes is a constitutionally protected right. Almost every law school has a clinical program. Northwestern Law School now has 13 legal clinics. Harvard and Yale combined have 50. Most major law firms have formal pro bono programs and a commitment to supporting equal access to justice. Today, we celebrate 125 years of providing our community with equal access to justice. And it all started with an idea.